Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And today I've got a little bit of a sniffle, so apologies if I'm sounding a bit nasally or I don't come across very clearly. I seem to be struggling with colds at the moment. It is what it is, though. And I thought I'd come and review Soul Plumber. For people who are not aware, it's basically something that a bunch of guys who do a podcast have put together with an artist called John McCrae, who I'm a huge fan of. Now, before it started, I was going to go and find out about these people. I was going to go and read up on them and find out what kind of podcast they did, how they got into comic books, like what kind of connection they had to John McCrae, if anything at all. But I thought, you know what, let's just go for it. I know who John McCrae is. I've been a fan of his for years. I've met him a few times at conventions. Seems like a genuinely cool guy. He's got a wicked dark sense of humor, and he's responsible for the greatest comic books of all time, Hitman by Garth Ennis and DC Comics. This one is part of the DC Horror Presents imprint, though, and I have to say up front that it is not scary in the slightest. Now, I was a little bit concerned to start with when I was reading it, thinking this just doesn't feel like horror at all, but in the end, I've realised it's not that it's failing to be scary. It's not trying. It's going a very different route while still being a horror comic book. It is effectively going for supernatural gore and basically humans being terrible to each other. Excuse me for 1 second. Snotty. Feeling not very well today. And that it comes across as basically a young guy who's very heavily religious, like super duper religious, who gets kicked out of seminary and tries to find his way in the world, which effectively ends up with him getting scammed by some people who apparently have the ability to extract demons from people's souls through basically magic plumbing devices. Excuse me, 1 second. Really shouldn't be doing video reviews on this ill. It's going to be very broken. I do apologize, but it's the horror then comes from this supernatural kind of gross out stuff. Because when you first see it, they kind of like telegraph that this is not a real event, and they are in fact just basically using it to scam people. I mean, the guy turns up in like one of those ridiculous over the top Jesus is riding shotgun kind of vehicles that I see people take the mickey out of in America. And he's clearly a con man. Like they don't even try to hide the fact that he's taken this guy for a ride and successfully. But this guy doesn't have any money, so he can't be conned. He actually just goes in there and steals the plans to make his own soul plumbing machine. But unlike the one that they use, which is clearly faked and it's all just effects, trying to scam people out of money, he is guided less by a blueprint and instructions, more by his faith. And I kind of like that it went that way, because this could have just been another comic book, which I'm going to like because it's, kind of anti-religious and that's kind of my bag. But it doesn't really feel the need to go all in on that. There is supernatural here, so somebody believing in it isn't a wacko. Just people think it's because they don't believe in the supernatural as well. But when you literally have souls and demons and potentially then God and devil, then why not have that as a thing, which is something to be proud of and to be applauded for. And when you do get to the horror side of it, this first issue is pretty thin on the ground, though. Yeah, there is supernatural in there, and yes, you get to see some pretty gross out stuff, but at no point does it kind of drag me into the horror world of it. The writing is fantastic, though. Honestly, if no other reason than I know kind of humor that John McCrae revels in and who people he's worked with in the past, I'd have probably guessed that this is the reason why they work together. Their writing style really complements McCrae's artwork and vice versa. There's a particular moment when there's a drug addict outside of a convenience store, basically threatening people to get money off them. One of his lines is, buy me a Diet Coke and I promise I won't touch your car. And there's a line underneath it, which for the sake of me not getting thrown off YouTube, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but honestly, it had me laughing out loud. And it's brilliant because it's dark, it's messed up, but it's the kind of humor which I think scratches a certain itch I've got. The kind of thing Garth Ennis tries to do and sometimes overshoots and sometimes just fixates on one aspect of. These guys have actually got a really good handle on it, and I found myself constantly enjoying every little twist and turn of the story. And there are twists and turns throughout it. I'm not saying it's not a little bit predictable for a first issue. It does basically set up what else is going to be happening. It doesn't do much of what I wasn't expecting, but it's good as it does it. And I can't carry on talking about John McCrae's art. He's brilliant. I love him. And there's an excellent bit where you get introduced to one of the characters, and it's over a few panels, and it's just that level of detail and the kind of gross outness of it. And my favorite moment is when you can see the smoke coming out of his face hole, where his nose used to be, And it's all the little things about this make it good, and the use of shadow and the cross hatching, even the angle that he's using for the POV. Everything about that page is just absolutely superb, and that's just one page of many, which McRae does like a superb job on. I was picking this up for his artwork. I'm not going to lie about it. DC horror stuff is interesting. I was certainly going to check it out. It made it onto my pull list when I saw he was doing the art for it. What's basically now made sure I'm going to keep getting it and get the rest of it is the story is funny, dark, interesting, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. This reminds me of Garth Ennis when he's at his best, and I don't say that lightly. I would say go and buy it, but we've totally sold out of it. I think because the people who do the podcast will be telling people about it, but I weren't telling them about it several months ago when we were ordering it. So this week and last week, I've had loads of people come and ask for it, and we just don't have any. If you're looking to see one on the shelf, just grab it. You will not be disappointed. Thoroughly enjoyable. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up. That's it for me today, though. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.